Okay, let's begin with Kitab Al-Fatiha. Can see my screen?
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and we want to continue from this morning's discussion on cybercrime. So these are the issues on cyber harassment, cyber stalking, and cyber terrorism. We'll first look at harassment, in the context of online environment. Harassment. People have been associating harassment with the act of trying to disturb someone's peacefulness, someone's privacy. Maybe you keep on following someone, not following in the sense of following the social media account, but if in the real world, as if you are following closely the movement of the person. Maybe you always sometimes people feel that if we tax a person repeatedly, pun, people will feel that they were being harassed. And then there was some kind of harassment that is sexual in nature. People like the picture that I show here. This can be not just happen to ladies, but also it can happen to men as well. So harassment can happen in many forms. Yeah. So usually the meaning of harassment is that it's a behavior intended to disturb or upset, and usually people will feel threatened or disturbed by the act. So there is another term called stalking. Stalking is an aggravated form of harassment. So harassment is a general act of or behavior that usually intend to disturb. But when it goes to stalking, this is an aggravated form of harassment where the victim finds themselves followed and continuously contacted by the offender. Yeah. So this is also, of course, people we don't want to be harassed or stalked. Yeah. So this has actually over the years. When we started to have social media and whatnot, we can see that the problem of cyber stalking or harassment has been alarming. I'll show you some statistics recorded by cybersecurity afterwards, meaning that there are cases ongoing, and I'm pretty sure that those were the reported cases, but there might be many unreported cases that we don't know. So as far as English law is concerned, they are very specific to regulate harassment in the form of real life harassment as well as cyber harassment. This is Protection from Harassment Act 1997. Just to show you this provision on UK law, provision on prohibition of harassment. This is some statistics from Women's Aid Organization Malaysia, recording the number of sexual harassment cases, which if you can see, I have actually the last data that I downloaded was until 2017. So I haven't checked the latest data. So you can see the number of cases is very high. It's almost 300 in 2017. In later, previously 2016 is quite 300, above 300. Yeah? And then as far as ni kita tengok ni je. This one is statistics published by Cybersecurity Malaysia. Cybersecurity Malaysia ni is actually an agency under MOSTI, Ministry of Science. But due to the changes of government now, rasanya dia sama ada dia dalam Ministry of Communication ke atau Ministry of Science lagi, nak kena check. So it's a technical referral agency for cybersecurity matters. So they comprise of experts, cybersecurity experts. and they help the government to conduct cyber investigations. Yeah, so government, or let's say the police, for example, if they require assistance as far as cyber issues are concerned, so they will get cybersecurity to do digital forensics, yeah, digital evidence and so on lah. So you tengok ni yang hijau ni is the record for cyber harassment. Specifically for cyber harassment pun about 40 case into average, on average. 2019 we can see a little bit further up. 2020 nanti you boleh, saya tak download ini yang baru tu. 2020 apa ni pun data pun ada lah, meaning we can see that the numbers are there. And the numbers reported by Women's Aid Organization just now is actually a little bit higher. Maybe that also includes the non-cyber harassment lah. Yeah. So harassment in Malaysia, unfortunately, we don't have law specifically to cater cyber harassment. You tengoklah betapa banyaknya kita kena catch up kan, especially on as far as cyber issues are concerned lah. So harassment has been focusing on, the law has been focusing on sexual harassment at workplace. This is something that an area which is, we can say memang dah tetap lah, the law is there already to protect people from against this sexual harassment at workplace. So but harassment happening in cyberspace, maybe cyberspace tu belum lagi. Yeah, the law as far as it stands at the moment, we can basically refer to penal code, for example. Yeah, I'll show you the penal code afterwards. So of course, all forms of sexual harassment at workplace are unwelcome and unwanted, and sexual harassment is also to be related to the concept of liberty and equality. So Article 5 of Federal Constitution provides that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty save in accordance with the law. So in this case, Lembaga Tata Tertib Perkhidmatan Awam, Justice Gopal Sriram defined, or this was a case concerning, they discussed about this harassment, and then Justice Gopal Sriram knew that there was no particular provision on this sexual harassment lah at workplace. Tapi Justice Gopal Sriram try to look at Federal Constitution and look at Article 5. If you look at Article 5, the meaning of life actually include reputation. So the judge interpreted that sexual harassment is actually deprive the victim of their liberty and violate their right to life. So therefore, in this case, by virtue of case law, the sexual harassment was recognized and was to be prohibited but only in case law that this particular sexual harassment or harassment is considered as a deprivation to life under the meaning of Article 5. Yeah. Another one was on a case of sexual harassment at workplace. This was the sexual harassment happened at a particular company, and then in this case, domestic inquiry was held, and then the complainant was dismissed. The worker was dismissed without compensation. So the matter was referred to industrial court, and then the court was of the view that this was wrong. Yeah, there was something wrong, and then ordered that compensation to be paid. Yeah. And back wages as remedies for the claimant. Back wages ni meaning salary that was unpaid until the moment that was decided by the court lah. So bayar balik mana yang tak habis bayar tu. Yeah. In Nasir Draman and TV3, this was also a case concerning sexual harassment of TV3 journalists. So after the whole, it was said that the particular sexual harassment happened during when they were in a car traveling together, and then the so-called yang buat ni said nasty things to the claimant. And then in this case, the matter was referred to industrial court, and the industrial court held that the defense put forward by the um, the claimant at that time was just a bare denial, and therefore is not acceptable at all. So ini semuanya these are all cases concerning the real world sexual harassment. But as we can actually see that as far as the cyber harassment, it didn't go that far to the courts. So in which we can see even the law is not very clear. So which is why we are not seeing so much development on this area. And most of the time, victims are afraid to come forward, to report and so on, because they might be afraid that sometimes the person who's doing this might be family member, or maybe friends, or maybe classmates for that matter. So these are many factors why people don't report lah. Okay, that's on cyber harassment. Any question before I move to cyberbully? Nak cakap pasal cyberbully pula. Tak ada cyberbully. So we move on to cyberbully. On cyberbully, I think this is pretty clear. Cyberbully is basically the act of bullying someone, but this happens in the digital context. It usually involves a string of communications or one-time communication, and may go to the extent of containing death threats or threats of bodily harm. So sometimes parents or teachers, they take this communications as something lightly. Kadang-kadang people think, oh, this is just between friends making fun of each other, but it's in some situation it may have a serious effect on the child. Bullying has always been associated with children, but we can actually see that bullying does not only continue to happen when someone is a child, but when I think it also happen to adults as well. That depends on how we take things lah. So sometimes cyberbullying has been equated to cyber harassment. People say hurtful words to you, and or maybe disturbing comments to you when you feel threatened. So there has been this discussion of whether cyberbullying and cyber harassments are the same thing. But cyberbullying in essence has focused much more on children. Cybersecurity Malaysia has published a guideline for parents as well as children to avoid cyberbullying. So examples of cyberbullying, these are some of the examples. The perpetrator may use these kind of words like texting you or emailing you with rude language. Like this one saying somebody is fat or ugly, or maybe posting humiliating videos, or photograph of someone in the social network, or maybe sending repeated texts saying that I'm going to get you, jaga kau, I'm going to get you. Setting up fake profiles or using actual profiles on social media to set pranks on someone, spreading lies about someone. Happy slapping was also said to form part of bullying. But ada orang dia boleh terima, ada orang tak boleh terima kan. Flaming, trickery, exclusion, impersonation, and so on. So again, Malaysian law, we don't have any specific law on cyberbullying as of yet. Work is actually in progress to draft one anti-cyberbully act, and I was made to understand that discussions are still ongoing at the working committee level. The previous minister said that they wanted to table the act in the parliament as soon as possible, but but we haven't seen this to happen as of yet. So, due to this lacuna, what the police has been doing is that bullying case has been charged under Section 147 of the Penal Code. That is actually, if you look down here, this is a part. This is rioting. Rioting. We can also think about apa ni, causing hurt under penal code. If the bully could cause hurt or cause death, then you charge under which provision the consequence has happened. So actually itu sebenarnya macam we are waiting for the consequence to happen, then only the law takes action based on the consequence. If the bullying caused death, you charge for death. If the bullying caused hurt, then you charge for causing hurt. Tapi you don't really tackle the real problem. The real problem is actually the act of bullying itself is wrong. So the law is just this, 147 rioting. Rioting ni apa? Rioting ni apa? Macam buat kacau macam tu lah kan, rioting. This is not really bullying, isn't it? So yeah, this is another lacuna lah. And if let's say the cyberbullying is published on a network facility or maybe on the internet, that may amount to improper use of network facility, and maybe an action under Section 233 can be taken against. So that again, that is very general lah. 233 is about improper use of network facility. If you publish something illegal content with intent to cause annoyance, then it can amount to 233. Yeah, so that's not really specific for cyberbully. Under the English law, we have Protection from Harassment Act that I mentioned earlier on. UK English law also have Malicious Communication Act. This provides for of an offence for any person to send communication that is indecent or grossly offensive. Yeah. And then they have the UK Communication Act 2003. You cannot send messages of gross offences or indecent. Obscene Publication Act, this may be cyberbully in the form of sexual in nature. Then it is an offence to publish an obscene article. We also have similar provision in the penal code as far as obscene publications are concerned. But that is if the bullying takes in the form of sexual kind of bullying lah kan. Another one is Computer Misuse Act. If in the course of bullying, a person hacks into the victim's online account or personal account, then maybe that can be an offence under UK Computer Misuse Act. Yeah? Okay, so that is on cyberbully. Yeah? Any question? We are coming to cyber stalking now. Yes.
About the harassment, if the harassment and let's say the harassment is about sexual harassment online kan, so can the person be charged under 233 of CMA, and also about the obscene thing under penal code?
For harassment, yeah.
Sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Boleh sebenarnya, boleh, tapi whether you will be successful or not, that depends lah on the court kan, to determine lah. But we can see that there are possible provisions because harassment ni specifically no law to regulate except for if let's say the sexual harassment causes hurt or something like that, then macam tu boleh lah. So kita boleh try lah under Section 233 for example kan. Tapi dia tidak begitu spesifik lah. Okay, Sarah.
Alright, so thank you.
Okay, now cyber stalking. Tengok gambar pun dah tahu cyber stalking.
Doctor, I would like to ask a question.
Yes, please.
So it's regarding about the cyberbully. How is it? How can it be charged under the penal code of Section 147 for writing.
I'm just telling you what the police is what they are doing at the moment lah. So practice dia is that they go for rioting. Alternatively, if the bullying cause hurt or maybe cause death, they will go for the most serious lah, which is causing death, section 302. Tapi kita nampak itu sebenarnya kesan-kesan bully. What about the act of bullying itself kan? So itu sebenarnya law dia tak ada. The provision doesn't cater specifically to say that bullying is prohibited ke is criminalized. So we can see lah the law that is being applied is not that specific. Yeah. So walaupun dia pakai yang rioting tu, kita pun rasa macam tak kena lah dia pakai rioting kan. And if we look at incidents like the case of student of UPNM who was bullied, caused death, 302 or 304 penal code was used to investigate and to prosecute. In fact, they were found liable under 304 penal code kan. So itulah, they were not being investigated under bullying, but they were being investigated for the consequences that happen. So apa yang berlaku? If it caused death, then it will be under causing death. So what if the bullying doesn't cause death? What if the bullying doesn't cause hurt? You are not hurt at all, but you are hurt inside. So then you start to complain, you start to talk to people around, and people maybe don't believe you. So the act of bullying itself is not, I think there's some kind of lacuna there. Kan? So kita tunggu result tu berlaku baru kita nak take action, isn't it? So itulah Nabawi.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. So I can't be teaching you laws which are not there yet, kan? Kalau law tu tak ada, kita buat ada mana boleh kan? So we try to cover some angles. Okay, if there is a lacuna in this area, we just mention, okay, memang there's a lacuna here, and something needs to be done to strengthen or to tie up the loose ends lah. So this one pun another area which is problematic, cyber stalking. Cyber stalking is also a form of online harassment, in which the perpetrator use electronic communication to stalk a victim. So it's involve unwarranted, repeated or threatening conduct of the offender through the internet or social media platform. Usually it causes fear, distress or alarm to the victim. And then it can be committed through many devices, smartphones and social media and so on. So nature of stalking could range from repeated threatening or malicious information, banyak yang berbentuk repeated acts. So the thing is that when this cyber stalking happens online, the way how internet was designed, it allows these people to operate anonymously. Sometimes they use pseudonym, meaning that they stalk someone or from the comfort of their home, and then at the same time they are being anonymous. So sometimes they can actually do identity theft, and they acquire personal information. Sometimes we don't recognize or we don't realize people are stalking us through our social media account, and then we have been very open, sharing our activities, daily activities. So the risk of cyber stalking, it can be physical danger to the victim, the risk of your contact information. People can do identity theft to you. Maybe they can find where your home is, and then they can, once they stolen your information or they gathered your data, they can actually gain more info, and they can try to deceive the victim, Yeah, they can also try to hack or maybe harass the victim personally as well as financially. So very dangerous if this cyber stalker gets our personal information. Under the Malaysian law, we can see that cyber stalking can be specifically under the Communication Multimedia Act, tak ada. Tapi under the Penal Code, we have Section 503 and 506. This is for criminal intimidation. Criminal intimidation is committed when a person threatens another with an injury to his person with intent to cause alarm to that person. So punishment is under Section 506. Okay, this one is a Singaporean case, public prosecutor against Colin Mark. So this was defendant had been sending the victim threatening emails and voice messages for more than 6 years. So the harassment was about they threatened the person, the victim, threats of violence by using AK-47 rifle and lead pipe. So in this, actually Singapore dia dah ada dia punya Singapore Protection from Harassment Act 2014, but during this time the case happens 2013. It was decided 2013. So at that particular time they used the Singapore Penal Code lah. So Singapore Penal Code is in pari materia with our Section 503. So if this case was decided after the Protection from Harassment Act 2014 was enforced, then the defendant may have been charged under Section 7 of PHA ini, for cyber stalking, specifically for cyber stalking, which could carry more serious consequences. So this is the closest Singaporean case that happens. Okay, so last sekali is cyber terrorism. As the picture shows, this is terrorism activity carried out through the computer. Macam-macam sekarang ni orang buat komputer. I think you don't be surprised. Even Facebook, Telegram has become a platform for terrorists to assemble, to get their networks, to contact each other, and to do everything to plan for their next action and whatnot. So the Malaysian police has been very cautious and they have been very active in monitoring if there were signs of cyber attack, cyber terrorism. We can see that they get information heads up, and they were able to block or to prevent a cyber terrorism attack from happening. And it is also unfortunate that from the cases that you will see after this, quite a number of our citizens were involved in cyber terrorism. Okay, this is basically when you talk about cyber terrorism, they refer to unlawful attacks or threats of attacks against computer network and information stored. To qualify as cyber terrorism, an attack should result in violence against person or property, at least cause enough harm to generate fear. Attacks that lead to death or bodily injury, explosion, or severe economic loss are some examples. Okay, Penal Code has been amended to include specific provision on to prohibit terrorism activities. In particular, you can refer to Section 130B to 130T. This is terrorism, which includes cyber terrorism as well. So terrorist has been defined as this a person who attempt to commit any terrorist act, or participate in or facilitates the commission of any terrorist act. Terrorist group here means an entity that facilitates this commission of the terrorist act. 130B define terrorism as an act or threat of action designed or intended to disrupt or seriously interfere with computer system, banking, financial, semua ni. So cyber terrorism ni maknanya meaning people are using technology to do terrorism act. Yeah, and this can include these things. Maknanya you do something to hack into banking account to disrupt services, and you do that for the purpose of terrorism. So this is 130B. The terrorist act can be an act or threat of action within or beyond Malaysia. Usually we see cyber terrorist act ni, they threaten to bomb a place, maybe they threaten to, so those kind of things are covered under section 130. So under 130J, this is about soliciting or giving support to terrorist group or for the commission of terrorist acts. So anyone who knowingly or in any manner solicit support or you give support to any terrorist group, or the commission of a terrorist act. So this is an offence, and you can see that this is actually a strict liability offence. Tapi nampak macam strict liability kan, tapi the word knowingly is there. So you must you can have some kind of defense lah kan. Support here further is defined under 130J to include what does it mean by support? Supporting terrorist activity, meaning you offer to provide forged, falsified travel document to a member of terrorist group, or maybe you offer to provide a skill or expertise for the benefit of the terrorist group, or maybe at the direction of the atas arahan terrorist group tu lah, or maybe you enter or you remain in any country for the benefit or at the direction of the terrorist group. You become a member or you profess membership of the terrorist group. You arrange meeting, assist for their meeting. You use or possess property for the purpose of committing. Maybe ada satu rumah, you have a house, and you tell them, bolehlah guna rumah ni nak meeting ke apa kan. So that is support, meaning falling under the definition of supporting terrorist activity. As far as subsection 2K, which provides support, includes using social media or any other means to advocate or promote or further facilitate. So there has been case law, meaning that support ni, case law has shown that an offence under 130J 2K includes supporting terrorism through instant messaging groups such as WhatsApp and Telegram. So careful. Sometimes you never know you are using social media to support these activities. In the case of PP against Azroy Achoy, so this was basically the accused house was raided. There was information to say that accused had in possession of some things concerning Islamic State, IS. So because of that, the police raided the house, and then a mobile phone was recovered and handed to the computer forensic. 72 images were extracted from mobile phone. 43 out of 72 images were associated with Islamic State. So accused also gave the password to a Facebook account, and from the posting of that particular Facebook account, it was also found that the Facebook account maintained by the accused supported and promoted IS and terrorism. So on that note, accused was charged with terrorism under 130, section 130J, 1A and as well as B. So accused tried to defend himself. He said that he only knew about IS through news. He did not entirely agree with their ideology. He did not have exclusive use of the mobile phone because the same was used by his friends, and he was not the owner of the Facebook account and not responsible. So there was this issue of whether accused defense had raised a reasonable doubt. But the court basically refused to accept the accused defense. The court said that accused had made a bare denial And then the fact that prosecution had also used Section 114A of the Evidence Act to have this rebuttable presumption of publication that the accused was the publisher of the incriminatory posting, and this accused had failed to rebut because of the defense of bare denial. Kan saya pernah cerita dulu kan, kalau setakat tender defense of bare denial ni, the court will not accept. So it has to have something more concrete rather than merely deny that it's not him, it's not you, could be someone else, it's not me, I don't know. To bare denial, the court usually don't accept this. Another case of PP against Muhammad Shaiful, this was also concerning cyber terrorism. Accused was found by police to have used his Maybank account to transfer 890 as a gift or donation. So under the bank statement tu, dia letak dekat statement reference tu jihad, dia tulis jihad. And then this was transferred to Fudail Omar, this guy known as Fudail Omar, the brother of Hassan Omar. So Fudail Omar actually has been gazetted as a terrorist belonging to IS group. So police investigated and revealed that accused had communicated with Fudail Omar through social media, through Facebook Messenger, which they believed him to be in Syria. And this guy Shaiful has transferred money to Fudail Omar. So on this note, accused had pled guilty under Section 130Q. And in his mitigation, accused said that he has no specific knowledge that Fudail Omar was a terrorist. He thought that the person was merely an individual who was involved in a holy war or jihad against Shiites for the oppression happening committed on the Sunnis in Syria. And then the financial contribution to Fudail Omar was made only with the view to assist the oppressed in Syria, Sunnis in Syria. So the court, considering this, the court agreed to reduce the sentence, but he was still guilty. Another one was about PP against Shafrin Rashid. This was about joining WhatsApp group supporting terrorism. This guy joined WhatsApp group that supported terrorism. He was, he intended to travel from Malaysia to join Islamic State in Syria, but he was caught at immigration counter at KLIA and was charged in court. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced. Another one was also on supporting terrorism using Telegram, and he also pled guilty to the charge. So banyaklah, a lot of our people were investigated and prosecuted over these offences. And we can see that the police were very strict, very serious about preventing terrorism, including cyber terrorism. And currently the law, especially penal code, has been amended to cater to both cyber terrorism as well as the real world terrorism. I think these were the early preventive measures that the law tries to tackle, meaning that as early as supporting the act of supporting terrorism is being prohibited, and serious actions were taken against the people who supported terrorism. So, of course, as far as the government is concerned, the law is just one element. We have the law, but we also have strengthened our cybersecurity framework. Our policy or framework from time to time has been upgraded. A lot of awareness has been done in order to ensure that our citizens or netizens are aware as far as cybersecurity threats are concerned. So which is why the role of Cybersecurity Malaysia is important. Meaning they not only they conduct investigations for cyber issues, but at the same time they also they help the authorities like the police, MCMC. They help as far as digital investigations are concerned. Yeah, they also conduct trainings, like a lot of professional trainings. Yeah, to help spread the knowledge. Yeah? So a lot of awareness programs that were being held to raise more awareness. Yeah? But from time to time, there has also been a need for a cybersecurity law, which we can see that if issues like spamming, semua tu yang that we discussed pagi tadi kan, those were actually cybersecurity issues, but the law is still very not really concrete, and people are concerned about the state of the security, cybersecurity in Malaysia. How safe is our banking applications? Yeah, people are saying that certain banks don't trust certain apps, or maybe certain banks, maybe because they are very much vulnerable. So yeah, this basically is the reputation of the banks are at stake, especially when cyber attacks happen, and more worrying is that when real money is lost. Yeah, so real money or maybe reputation, yeah, is at stake. Yeah? So this is why cybersecurity is very important, and we hope that through the awareness as well as the upgrading of our infrastructure, we will be able to have a more secure cyber environment. Okay, with that, that is the end of this topic. Inshallah, I will see you on Monday at 3 p.m. Yeah? Any question? So these topics, we have covered 3 topics. Yeah. These 3 topics lah: cyber harassment, cyber stalking, cyber terrorism. Yeah. Cyberbully itu saya letakkan under cyber harassment. Yeah. Ada one subtopic under cyber harassment. Okay, any question?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, Alicia.
What about in cases where people anonymously have discussion where they agree on the idea of terrorism? Like, for example, on Reddit, like they'll always have like discussion on the topic of terrorism. Will they also be charged under the penal code?
I guess I'm not sure about Reddit tu macam mana. If the discussion is just academic discussion, then itu maybe the police wouldn't care lah. But if you are planning something, planning, or maybe you are assisting, the discussion is about assisting the terrorist scheme, kan? Then it can be covered under section 130J penal code.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Okay, there's no other further question. Okay, let's call it a day. Thank you for attending. Let's close with tasbih kafarah and suratul Nas. Thank you. Salam.